In somewhere in Campbell's Masks of God series, I think it was in Creative Myth, but it could have been in Oriental Myth. But he was speaking about, he made a statement. He recorded, I don't know if he was, I don't know if this is noted or if he's got a footnote on it or whatnot. But the statement is, the Buddha takes the form of its auditors. So in relationship to the myth we live by, the myth in which everything is filtered through, the story we tell ourselves of reality filters all the reality that comes to us through it. I was telling my friend, you can change that term around and say, instead of the Buddha, because I like to change certain terms so that people understand the concept and don't get caught up in the religious, political, or economic connotations. We can become fixed and steadfast in the way we perceive things to be. So somebody can use a term only in a certain way, and they're never supposed to use it in another way, which is a very mechanical way of saying it. It's just that people see things the way they want to see it, and they don't necessarily see things other than the way they see them, if that's any clearer. But the point I'm trying to make is that you, instead of saying the Buddha takes the form of its auditors, you could say the Godhead takes the form of those who are asking it questions. Takes the form, the Godhead takes the form of its inquisitors. The Godhead takes the form that the person wants to know about. Now, we receive information piecemeal, bit by bit. We learn as we go, and we should try to surround ourselves with the best. This is what I discovered. Circumstances in my life created a situation where it was very challenging to go to school and get an education in school. So I had to reach out into other ways, in other ways, And I realized, why not go to the authors whose books are right in the bookstores and read them and read what they got to say, straight from the horse's mouth, so to say. But in relationship to the talk I was having with my friend David last night, I was trying to give him an object lesson through Toynbee that would show him how Toynbee interpreted history his way. And he was able to integrate large sums of information through this interpretation. So the facts that came to him from outside fit into his interpretation, the myth he lived by, the working hypothesis of his work. Through his idea. Anyway, I wanted to show him this so that he understood that what we think we see out there is interpreted by us and is not necessarily the way it is. And we may be right or we may be wrong, but the point is what we interpret it as describes the myth we're living by. In a way, the way we interpret things describes the Godhead, the guide that is leading us through. Now, if we learn as we go, we shouldn't get caught up in the right and wrong of it. The right and wrong becomes secondary. The important part is to start where we're at. If we're a teacher teaching somebody, we need to start where they're at and move from that point forward and use examples that will elaborate their perspective, their filter, in such a way as to cause it to grow and expand and be able to integrate and assimilate more facts as they are. Truths, so to say. But this leads me to what happened this morning. And I had what I would consider one of my big dreams. And a big dream is a dream that's obvious to me, that the symbolism of it is rather mythical. And what I mean by mythical is eternal, that which is ever recurring in time. So the dream goes like this. I'm being led in drab clothing that's rather filthy with a bunch of other people, and it's a very somber feeling, and they're all slaves. And we're all being led into this pit mine. And a pit mine is, the way it was in the dream was, we entered into it, and then all around us was this huge pit that we were in, very high. And then on the outside are, at the bottom of this pit, all around this circle in front of us, are areas to go into the earth, and we're to mine. So I enter in there, and I'm walking around, and I meet up with somebody I know, an elder, one of my elders, a friend of mine. And he starts talking to me, and I start following him, and he leads me to where he's at. And where he is at is his workstation for the gift shop for the mine. And he's got all these packaged goods for the gift shop in there. And he's got several workstations that are a little messy, but generally it's pretty organized. And there's an opening where you can see out into the pit mine. And that's basically the whole dream. I woke up from there because I've trained myself that when I have one of these big dreams, I've trained myself to wake up and remember it. And then at that point, what I do is I try and figure it out. But the way I figure it out is this morning I decided, it's the first of the year. I'm going to relax. I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm not going to rush right into things and try and figure out this dream or, overanalyze it or anything like that. And I think this is important with dreams, especially because they're symbolic. And since they're symbolic, you can't take them too seriously, too literally. And I feel that many people that exchange money for dream interpretation end up assigning a value to an interpretation. And when it comes to symbolism, value takes on an entirely different economic, because it is an economic of the spirit, of the vital force within us, that divine inspiration, that divine spark. And so the economic value is spiritual, not literal or physical. So I've trained myself to just relax. It's there. I want to figure it out. However, that's secondary. And I let my thoughts just wander. And so my thoughts continue to wander with Toynbee, the conversation I had with my friend, what I was trying to describe to my friend for his own life. so that he understood the difference between what he is experiencing and how he is interpreting his experience, and how that interpretation, the myth we live by, or the Godhead, that ideal, are two different things. Our experience of it and our ideal are two different things.